Welcome back, Unqualified Sports fans, to another week of Unqualified Sports Talk, episode 5 this week. Coming off of a huge week, a lot of good and interesting things happening around the world of sports, and we're coming off a huge week for ourselves. If you haven't, go back and check out episode 4 with Chris Herron Jr. It was a lot of fun getting to interview him, and we're excited for what episode 5 has to hold. So, we're going to start out by talking a little bit of NFL, and by a little bit, I mean a lot. The NFL was, for lack of a better term, popping off this week, and a lot of big pieces are moving and staying and getting released. So, Carson, Bryce, where are we starting with the NFL this week?
I think we got to start where the money is, Austin. Dak Prescott signed a very big contract. Some people will say it's worth it, some people say it's not, but let's dissect that a little bit. What you got, Carson?
Well, for those of you that haven't heard, or if you live in a hole, Dak, 4 years, 160 million, 126 of that is guaranteed, and that includes a $66 million signing bonus, the largest in NFL history.
And I'm sure that's probably by a landslide too. That's
Oh yeah, it has to
Probably
be.
by a landslide. Don't exactly have the stats on that right now, but it is the largest ever, and it begs the question: is he worth being what he is now, which is the second highest average annual salary in the NFL?
yeah, and it's actually pretty funny, that $66 million signing bonus. He's only actually getting his salary 9 million this year. I mean, that comes out to 75 million, but that's just funny that his actual salary is so much lower than his signing bonus.
Yeah, like crazy. It's like what, 15% of what his signing bonus is? Unreal.
Yeah. And then the next year's it stacks, but this year he gets a ton of money. He's set for life literally after signing pen to paper a couple days ago.
Yeah,
Yeah,
75
which is
million
ridiculous.
up front in the first year's got to be one of the highest amount, or like the highest percentage of front loadedness in a contract, right? Like it's got to be one of the
Mm-hmm.
most front loaded contracts ever.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
like
That's
Carson said,
insane.
it
really
begs the
smart.
question: is it worth it or not? And I'm starting us off, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I'm not a big Dak fan at all. Never have been. Probably never will be. There's nothing he does to irritate me. It's just I don't think he's good, and I don't think he's worth this kind of money. Um, it's Jerry Jones putting a lot of faith in a guy who's relatively unproven, who I feel like's been carried by an offensive line and or Zeke every year. So it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, this year we did see other quarterbacks like Andy Dalton and what was that guy's name? Danucci.
The Nooch.
The Nooch come in and suck, just to put it
For lack
bluntly.
of better words.
Yeah, but also when Dak was playing, they also sucked, and he was leading the league in yards. So I don't.
Yeah, he was on
The
pace for I think 5,900, which would have destroyed the record.
but that defense obviously is so bad that needs to be addressed.
Yeah,
And who knows how much you can actually address that after $66 million down the drain, just right off the bat. But it's gonna be interesting to see how the Cowboys can build off of that. Obviously, we see quarterbacks like Tom Brady take pay cuts so they can build a team around them. I don't know if Cowboys are necessarily going to be able to build a team around
hmm
Dak and Zeke and whoever the heck else they're paying without a defense already. But we'll see. And in my opinion, not the greatest move, but if you're a Cowboys fan, you probably love it.
yeah, and I think that it really begs the question of, like, is it worth it just to secure that you have a good quarterback? I think he's a really good quarterback, but it's impossible to argue that he's not at least, an above average quarterback. Right, Bryce? You're the one that would argue that.
I mean, of course, I'm going to say he's above average. He's better than Alex Smith, who I feel
Yeah.
like, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, who I feel like are the most average quarterbacks of all time. Of course, I'm taking Dak over them, but is he a Russell Wilson? No. So yeah,
No.
Mahomes obviously not close. I feel like there's obviously quarterback tiers as there is every position, and Dak's
hmm
just not probably in my top 1 or 2 tiers.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't
well, I
know.
think Mahomes is alone in the top tier. So,
Yeah, I don't know if I can put him in that tier of, like you were talking about, like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, like that group. And I don't really think I can put him like down in the middle with like the Ryan Fitzpatricks and Alex Smiths of the league. So it's confusing to me. But if you're a Cowboys fan, you probably like that you get your quarterback, but you're also a Cowboys fan, so who cares what you think? Like, honestly, you know?
Yeah, I mean, we're not Hook'em Cowboys in this podcast. We're not
Mm-mm.
Cowboys fans. We're somewhat of the opposite. I would consider myself the opposite. But hey, congratulations to Dak Prescott getting paid. Congratulations to the Cowboys because we know what it's like to not have a quarterback. It's awful, and that puts you right at the top of the draft. So Dak's getting paid. He's getting
Mm-hmm.
paid a lot,
But
and congratulations.
yeah, congratulations, securing the bag.
It's life changing
Yep.
money.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, second highest annual salary in the NFL.
Big Tommy.
So we also have some players, in a way, getting signed, but not really, and they're not making nearly the same money as Dak. So Bryce, tell us about some two big players that got tagged this week with the franchise tag.
Yeah, so we have Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin who got tagged this week. And like you said, Austin, they're not quite getting paid what Dak was, but they are getting paid 120% of what they made last year. Big time, It's a pay increase, probably not necessarily what they wanted. Two huge wide receiver names who have come out of nowhere the past few years, especially Chris Godwin. But with that, they were probably looking forward to free agency and getting those huge contracts. In wide receiver terms, probably nothing still close
Mm-hmm.
to Dak, but they were going to get, they were very hot on the market and they were going to get some big money. But like, I feel bad for Allen Robinson because for not that much more money, he is stuck in Chicago.
Yeah.
Where unless they get Russell Wilson or Deshaun Watson, which they look like they're kind of pushing for Russell right now, that team's going to suck. But Chris
Yeah,
Godwin's
that's
obviously in
awful.
the best position he could possibly be in right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure he's not complaining too much. But yeah, Allen Robinson, sorry, buddy, T's and P's.
T's and P's for Allen Robinson.
I thought the Chris Godwin tag was just amazing for both sides. Like, Chris Godwin talked about how he didn't want to go somewhere where he was going to make a lot of money but be miserable, but he also knew his value. He talked about that at the beginning of the offseason. And I think, like you said, 120% of what he made last year is maybe less than he would have wanted, but there's a really good chance there's a second ring waiting on the other side of 2021-2022. So I think it's worth it, and I don't think that we'll hear a lot of complaints out of Chris Godwin. But yeah, poor Allen Robinson. He just can't catch a break in the league.
I'm sorry, Allen Robinson, dude.
Yeah, T's and P's for Allen Robinson, everybody.
For sure.
But quick note for anyone who doesn't know what the franchise tag is. Basically, the player does not have a choice. There's also a different tag for younger players that's similar to restricted free agency. But this franchise tag, the player does not get to negotiate with other teams, and it's the greater of the average of the top 5 salaries at their position over the last year or their previous salary times 120%. So it's pretty much a guaranteed pay increase, sometimes significantly. It just gives team control like a super, super hard emphasis. But obviously, they raise the money price on this. So that's why teams don't always use it because that would be kind of a cheat code.
Mm-hmm. And also,
but hey, congratulations.
it is more of a risk for both of these teams with this year with the cap getting 8% decrease. So, teams are having a lot less money to spend on these pretty big names. So, in a way, it probably did help teams with this other teams with this franchise tag who are going to have to pay them everything and have a lot less money to spend in free agency. When next year, the cap's probably going to get raised again just because we're going to be coming off of a non-COVID year, which is the only reason the cap was decreased. So
Yeah.
we'll see if their values even shoot up more next year with the cap increase, which I'm obviously just implying happens and assuming happens.
Yeah, and please, somebody go save Allen Robinson. We're sure that he's begging for help, whether it
Send him
be
to Buffalo.
yeah.
Buffalo Soldier.
Don't send him anywhere, but please trade for him a quarterback because he is actually a hostage. And congratulations, Allen Robinson, for making Blake Bortles and Mitch Trubisky look like decent quarterbacks or competent quarterbacks, or just not awful, but they were. So hey, congratulations to those guys for getting tagged, but not everyone gets tagged. Not everybody gets this good feeling of getting paid this early. There were a couple really big guys I know we wanted to highlight that weren't tagged. Who were the guys?
Bryce, I'll let you take the first one, and I'll take the second one.
First one, a guy who is awesome at his position, Aaron Jones, easily one of the best running backs in the league. I can see why the Packers didn't tag him, though. They have two other great running backs in their depth chart, and he was going to cost a lot of money. And like I said, with the cap decreasing this year, probably wasn't worth their time with the money that they're going to have to continue to invest in him. So they probably would rather start developing their younger guys rather than keep Aaron Jones around. I mean, you could say it was surprising if they did want to truly make a Super Bowl run, but all in all, I think all of us would agree that wasn't super surprising and was probably a smart business decision.
Yeah, well, the Packers have two other guys that made Aaron Jones look replaceable, to put it very easily. So I don't think it's a hard decision necessarily for them because it's next man up and they like their next men.
Right.
But for Aaron Jones, it kind of sucks because, well, the Packers, it doesn't get much better than playing for the Packers with some of the best fans in the league and Aaron Rodgers. But you know, he'll go get paid and he'll pick up his stats somewhere else.
Yeah, I thought this one was it raised a question for me because I thought about the time that Aaron Jones missed this season with injuries and how that gave opportunities for their second and third running backs to show themselves. And I thought if Aaron Jones didn't get hurt or didn't get hurt as often as he did this season, the way that he was playing, I think this would have been a different decision by the Packers if he had played the entire season. Honestly,
yeah, I could see that.
I feel like he would have shown himself to be worth an extension or to be re-signed at that point.
Yeah, he would have basically forced their hand to pay him.
Yeah, because he was just an electrifying part of that offense, and before he got hurt was the run game. So I don't know. I feel bad for him in that regard because like you get hurt and then the other guys come in and they play well. You know, it happens, but maybe another team sees that value and he gets paid anyways. So
yeah, now he can go get paid. But also we forget the running back market doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
So who knows if he'll get paid? But we know somebody else who didn't get tagged is going to get paid. And who is it, Austin?
Oh, it's Joe Thuney, the guard. Just formerly a New England Patriot. And honestly, this one surprised me. I don't know. We haven't talked about it, Carson, but I want to know how you feel about it, being fellow Patriot fans. And it surprised me, honestly. I know that there's probably some weird Belichickian logic here, but Thuney's one of the best young guards in the league. So and there's nothing there like behind him waiting to step up. So
well, he's a top 5 guard in the league, definitely. He's going to absolutely destroy the bank. He's definitely the top guard on the market because Washington tagged Brandon Sheriff, which paved the way for Thuney to be not even close to the next man up. You know, we don't exactly consider ourselves to be a Patriots podcast, but we can talk about him a little bit. Thuney played in the Super Bowl his first 3 seasons. I think he's the only player to ever do that right now. Still, He's been starting on the offensive line since he came into the league. He's one of our guys, an NC State guy. We love him
Yes,
to death.
sir.
And I mean, he's a stud, but last season, Patriots hit on a 6th-round pick, Michael Winwu, and he is going to step in and be the left guard at a much, much lower price because Tooney is actually going to break the bank. And I think he's going to go. I've seen things that say Cincinnati, but I think that he's going to go to a team like Seattle that absolutely needs offensive linemen to win.
How bad would it feel to go to Seattle, theoretically, and then they trade Russell Wilson, and
Oh, that would be
now,
awful.
now you're there with Matt Hasselbeck's son as your quarterback. I don't even think Matt
or
Hasselbeck
just
has
Matt
a son,
Hasselbeck.
but or
Tim Hasselbeck.
Yeah, Tim Hasselbeck. Hey, maybe Bryce he might ride up the road to Buffalo. Who knows?
Russell?
No, Joe Tooney.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't have the money for that, but that would be awesome.
Yeah, definitely don't have the money after re-signing Matt Milano, but
Nope. Well, that's a lot of money. But I guess speaking of the Bills, another little off-season thing that happened is a couple good wide receivers got released from their teams, and one of those people being Bills wide receiver John Brown. He's a speed demon, integral part of that Bills offense. Josh Allen's first number one receiver. I mean, on our team, he wasn't really a number one receiver in terms of the league, but Josh Allen's first go-to receiver in his career kind of helped him flip the switch on his career progression, which obviously has been through the roof over the past couple years, especially this past year. As a Bills fan, it does suck to see him go, and it really does suck that the NFL had to decrease cap space by 8% and kind of send. We had a three-headed monster, and Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley, and John Brown. So it sucks to see one of those people from that receiving core kind of go. But Gabe Davis last year, he was a rookie. He was an absolute beast. Is going to definitely have to step up this year and take that John Brown spot. He's not necessarily a speed demon, but he can get open. He can make big catches. So obviously we're putting a lot of trust in him, expecting him to take that next step as a second year. And hopefully he doesn't go through a sophomore slump because that would suck. But we'll see what happens. I don't think the Bills are going to do anything in free agency with wide receivers. I think if we do anything, it's going to be on the defensive side of the ball. But we'll see. And it sucks to see John Brown. And I'll let one of y'all two take the next big receiver that got released.
Austin, who is it?
That would be Emmanuel Sanders. If you were born anywhere in the 2000s, you probably never heard of Emmanuel Sanders. That's a joke. But a guy who's definitely on the downside of his career. He spent some time bouncing around, most recently with the Saints. And, yeah, I'm not surprised by this one. And I honestly don't know what team, if any, will take him.
Tough.
Not that he's not good. Not that he's not still able to be your third or fourth guy. But I just don't see enough teams in the league that need that third or fourth guy that are willing to pay for an old guy like this rather than taking someone maybe later in the draft.
Which
that
is
being
fair.
said, he'll probably end up on a team somewhere late in free agency. I would not expect to see his name come off of the free agency board anywhere in the first month and a half, maybe, free agency.
Yeah, or at least the first couple waves.
Yeah, his will definitely be one that will go under the radar. So.
Yeah, and quick stat: he hasn't started more than 10 games in his last 2 seasons. So
yeah,
it kind of sucks for him. He had a great career in Pittsburgh and Denver, 2 places that we'll never forget him playing. We're happy we got to see him play there, but like you were saying, Austin, not really looking optimistic for him this coming season. He could maybe have a farewell tour with Denver, which I think would be pretty cool. Maybe sign him for half a season or whatever. People do that all the time. But T's and P's to him.
Hey,
Great
T's and
career,
P's.
great guy.
Congratulations for a great career. These guys are just victims of the cap decrease. We saw Allen Robinson and Chris Godwin get taken off the market, which absolutely brings down the top of the market. But guys like John Brown and Emmanuel Sanders really bring up the middle ground, which is still a strong wide receiver market. But I don't think either of these guys, sorry, John Brown, would actually move the needle for a team that needs like a really, really good receiver. But I think
John
both
Brown.
of them could
He's
be
on the wrong
effective.
side of 30 now too. So
Yeah, I think they could both be really effective in the right system. And a place that I would look for John Brown is Green Bay, because they definitely don't need a number one receiver, but his speed I think would go really well alongside of Devontae Adams. And then Emmanuel Sanders, it's a tough situation. But I think late in free agency, he could sign somewhere like Pittsburgh that doesn't really need him. He would be like the third or fourth receiver, but he would be really valuable to their receiver room and to their offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we might see his future destination be aligned with maybe a young quarterback in a new system.
Mm-hmm.
As the quarterback carousel kind of unfolds, we might see him be picked up by a team to kind of help him learn, or help the young QB learn. So
yeah, I mean,
And
I would feel
speaking of-
comfortable throwing to him.
Of course, who won it? But speaking of quarterback carousel, Carson, your favorite quarterback of all time, who you would probably argue is the GOAT. Not really, but he's up there
Well,
for you. Guys, Jameis Winston is probably getting shopped around right now. Well, wait, he's a free agent, isn't he?
yeah, he's a free agent.
He's a free agent. So
Mhm.
Jameis Winston is searching for a new home. Where the heck is it going to be, and why? We'll save Carson for last just because this is his favorite player of all time. So,
Actually.
Austin, let's hear from you.
I'm going to say that he is going to be Big Ben's backup this year.
Oof. Another backup role.
Yeah, I think
Can't
that
stand
he
it.
goes in and he takes that one and ends up in free agency again in 2 years. I'm very much on the other side of the Jameis Winston debate. I think that there was once a lot of potential there, but Tampa Bay just was not a good place for a quarterback whenever he was starting.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the thing that's going to get brought up in every Jameis Winston conversation is the 30 touchdown, 30 pick season. And I just can't wait, honestly, for the ESPN 30 for 30, about the 30 and 30 season. I'm super excited.
Wow, 30s all around. 30s
Yeah.
all around the board.
It'll
Congratulations.
be amazing, and it'll be the biggest tongue twister and mind boggler ever to come out of ESPN. But 30 for 30, 30 for 30.
30 for 30, 30 for 30.
And 30.
I would say that I'm in between the Austin and Carson spectrums. I'm right smack down in the middle. I think Jameis Winston has all of the physical gifts. It's just, the intangibles that kind of are concerning. Mostly because he can't see, meaning he just throws it to the other team, like Austin was saying. Those 30 picks, huge red flag. But, he took some time under Sean Payton, who developed Drew Brees into the quarterback that he is / was. And you never know. He came in, played great. A couple times he was in during the season for the Saints. So I'm excited to see what he does in a different system. I don't think he's going to be a backup. I think that, he definitely has the potential to be a starter. Maybe not in one of these huge market teams that will take a big risk with him because, like I said, we don't know what we're getting. Are we getting the Jameis Winston with 30 interceptions, or are we getting more of a Sean Payton, Drew Brees oriented Jameis Winston, who's a lot smarter and better with decision making? And with that, I'm gonna say, see ya, Drew Lock. Hello, Jameis Winston in Denver,
No
Colorado.
way.
No way.
Oh, that is That's a big take.
I feel
I love
offended
it.
by that one because I love Drew Lock.
Well, Drew Lock sucks. Okay,
I mean, that's
he does.
fair,
Well,
He does.
but so
I
did Tim
was on the Drew.
Tebow, but we
I was on the
stand
Drew.
Tim Tebow.
He sucks. He sucked too. He won one playoff game, whatever.
Exactly.
Tim
But
Tebow was better at
I was
baseball.
I was on the Drew Lock hype train. That got derailed. I'm no longer on it. Now, Jameis Winston to the Broncos could be interesting. They have a lot of weapons, a great defensive,
Weapons.
young weapons, a great defense, with or without probably Von Miller coming back. So, and chances are he probably won't. He probably going to go ring chasing just because of his age. But I could see Jameis doing well there. It would be truly his team because there's not any huge egos on that team. The only other person that could probably rival him, their best player is probably Bradley Chubb at this
Yeah.
point. And he's obviously not a superstar at this point. He tore his
Justin
ACL
Simmons
last
as
year,
well.
so we haven't got to see him play since his rookie year where he was the stud. But I could definitely see Bradley Chubb becoming much more of a household name than he already is. But yeah, Jameis Winston to the Broncos, I think it's a good fit. I think he's shown that he's coachable, willing to work hard. And we'll see if that work pays off in Denver, Colorado.
Well, is everybody done?
Yes, Carson, there's
Because-
only two other people.
Because Jameis deserves love. And it just
I gave him
bothers
love.
me. It bothers me to hear anyone talk about Jameis Winston because he will never get the love that he deserves. And I think that most people that I talk to about Jameis Winston think that I'm joking. But I actually love Jameis Winston. He is without a doubt my favorite quarterback in the NFL, and he is without a doubt the most talented quarterback in the NFL.
That's
He can make
a little bit of a
he-
hot take, but
he can make any throw to anybody in any situation.
Even the defense.
He
even
can
the
make
defense.
he can make every single big time throw that all your favorite quarterbacks can, and he can make
And
all of
also
them.
can't.
But he can. He has the ability to make every NFL throw, and that's why I think he is the best quarterback in the NFL, the most talented quarterback in the NFL. And I think that all the criticism comes obviously from decision making. But hey, he had a year where he wasn't thrown to the wolves, where he wasn't just thrown out there to get sacked 50 times. And I mean, a year under Sean Payton with Drew Brees and, the QB whisperer Joe Lombardi. I mean, I could probably become a competent quarterback with those three guys. So I think, hey, he got a year on the bench where he didn't have to get hit and he didn't have to get criticized like he always does. And now he hits the market after his only career playoff pass being a touchdown. So congratulations to him for that. And
Big time.
he's definitely gotten the chance to conquer the off the field issues that don't seem to be coming back anymore. So I
Like
mean,
stealing crab legs.
yeah, like the crab legs and other incidents. So I don't really have a prediction, but this
you have
right
to.
here is my plea to Bill Belichick to sign Jameis Winston because he's your quarterback of the future. And if anybody can fix him, if he hasn't already fixed, it's Bill Belichick. I don't care who he's throwing it to.
Well,
He can do it.
he could.
And that would make me happier than any person on the planet.
Honestly,
But Carson, we want to hear one prediction.
One
Just throw a
prediction.
name out there.
I already did.
Okay, fine. The Patriots. Wow, good prediction, Carson.
It's me begging, but also I want it so bad that I think I've willed myself into thinking that it'll happen,
Okay.
I think
even though I know
though,
it won't.
if Jameis goes to the Patriots, we will see him set one record. And that is most games
And what is that?
benched at halftime in one single season.
Well, that's really funny. You give him no respect, but that's also a team with a probably top 5 offensive line, and Jameis has never even sniffed that. And he'll have the chance to just turn around and hand it off to Damian Harris 35 times a game, which would be nice. It would be really nice,
Mhm.
especially considering he had Doug Martin in Tampa. The end of Doug Martin, that's tough. But now he's got a really good running back room. and a 15-time Super Bowl winning coach if he goes to New England. And I think it works out well. And then I will buy probably 20 jerseys.
The color rush, the vintage,
And
home
then some.
away.
But I mean, he's 27 years old.
That's true.
Like if he goes anywhere,
Still young.
he could be there for a very long time.
Maybe.
It's true, guys. Well, we'll see where Jameis Winston ends up.
I love you, Jameis.
It literally could be anywhere. It could be the Saints again, for all we know, which a lot of people are speculating. But obviously, we don't want to predict that because that's not fun at all. And we're unqualified, so we literally have no idea. But guys, that's kind of the highlights of the NFL this week. There was a lot going on with the offseason. It's fun. The offseason's so much fun leading up to the NFL draft. We're keeping y'all updated on everything. We're probably just going to see more and more contracts, signings, releases. So
Maybe
we'll be on
trades.
top of all of it. Trades even, yeah. So we'll be on top of all of it. Y'all will know first from us. But now we move on to the NBA, which was not as fun as the NFL this week with it being All-Star Week. Not a ton happened, but some stuff did happen. And first of all, there was a big signing over in Brooklyn. Big in quotation marks because I'm not really sure how big it actually is. But Carson, let's hear about it.
Well, Blake Griffin, formerly a Los Angeles Clipper and a Detroit Piston, has signed with the Brooklyn Nets. And, anyone who follows the NBA will say, of course he did, because it feels like, one person goes to the Nets and then everyone plays for the Nets. So now they have not only 3 of the top 15 players in the league, 2 of the top probably 5 or 6, but now they also have the entirety of Lob City with Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan.
Oh, and
so
by the way,
their starting 5. And can anyone match it?
This past week was the anniversary of DeAndre Jordan killing Brandon Knight. I'd like to point that out.
Goodness. Rest in peace, Brandon Knight. T's and P's for Brandon Knight, because that should have not been filmed. It was that bad.
It was literally a murder caught on camera.
It was bad.
If you haven't seen it, look it up. It's the greatest clip of all time. You should.
It is without a doubt.
Make a fat head of it. Put it on your wall.
Yeah, it is without a doubt my favorite dunk of all time. But Blake Griffin, I mean, his last season where he was an All-Star was 2018-19, which has only been 2 years. He averaged 25, 8, and 5 that season. I still think he's a good player, but he's only played 38 games in the past 2 seasons, and hasn't played nearly as much, obviously, but he hasn't played as much in those games. His field goal percentage is down 10%, which is just unheard of from where it was. And then he's like a sub 30% shooter from 3. So, is he the same player? Obviously, it doesn't look like it with the way he's performed, but also he's been hurt and he's played less than half a season the past 2 seasons. So I would like to give him the benefit of the doubt. But obviously, with those health issues, we don't know, is he going to be able to play the rest of the season or even be able to stay healthy for a playoff run? So I think that the needle for the Nets pretty much stays right where it is. But hey, if Blake Griffin plays well, good for him. I really hope he does, because I like Blake Griffin. So nothing but good health his way, hopefully. What do you guys think about this signing?
Well, he didn't play tonight. I just got the notification about their final score. He didn't play tonight, and he wasn't on the bench. So just a little update there. But yeah, I don't know how much this changes the Nets, like you were saying.
Yeah.
I think from a publicity standpoint, if this were a non-COVID year, the Nets would absolutely be sold out every single night if they weren't already, right?
Yeah, definitely, without a doubt.
Because who wouldn't want to see James Harden, Kyrie Irving throwing lobs to Kevin Durant, DeAndre Jordan, and Blake Griffin? It would be like it was 2008 all over again. And
or whatever year it was.
Yeah, whatever year. 1945, probably.
That was he was still at Oklahoma then.
Yeah. He was still on the cover of NCAA basketball.
Because he was on the cover of NCAA.
010.
He was. I was about to say the same thing.
010.
It's coming back. He'll be the cover athlete again.
But Yeah, he will be on the cover of NCAA basketball 2K22 in a
Hopefully.
Nets
Hey,
jersey.
congratulations, Blake Griffin.
Congratulations,
Absolutely.
Blake Griffin.
But
But
yeah, it doesn't change much for me. So
yeah, I would say the same thing too. I mean, he hadn't dunked a basketball since 2019, which is weird because he's only known for dunking. But I mean, what else does he bring to the game? Like you said, Carson, he's 30% shooter. That's terrible.
Yeah, I mean it is
Like,
awful, but
what are you gonna do? What are
he
you gonna do?
has turned into a good shooter.
Grab 6 rebounds a game? Congratulations.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see him contributing as much as he should contribute, being Blake Griffin. But from a publicity standpoint, it's awesome. Going to give you probably even more televised. That's all that really matters is money, which is sad, but that's how it is. And in all reality, I couldn't even tell you Blake Griffin was replacing the starting lineup if he does start. So it's probably an upgrade, if not the same level of playing. So who knows?
Yeah, well, I would probably put my best bet that he would be replacing the absolute sniper Joe Harris, so I doubt he will be starting. But the
Okay, yeah,
value of depth has never been greater, and a
yeah,
superstar or former superstar is
hmm
still depth.
it is. He knows how to play. He's
He,
been there, done that, except win a championship
yep, he
or get to a
cannot, he
final
cannot
or
be, he
conference
cannot
final.
be that bad.
Mm-mm.
He cannot be worse than he has been recently. I think.
yeah. He's
I
definitely a
think we'll see him
valuable
regress
asset.
back. Mm-hmm. He has to be. He's Blake Griffin. But one last quick stat before we move on from Blake Griffin. Uh, since these past 2 seasons, his player efficiency rating, which almost perfectly encapsulates the value of a player, is half of what it was his entire tenure with the Clippers. So not a good sign, but congratulations, Blake Griffin. You've got a chance to chase a title and secure your spot as a Hall of Famer. Though I think he's probably pretty secure right now.
It is because Kyle Lowry.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Kyle Lowry is a Hall of Famer. Blake Griffin's a Hall of Famer. Congratulations to them both. But sticking with the big men, we had a little bit of other bigger news. Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers has overtaken LeBron James as the MVP favorite. This is the first time in probably, I think it's 2 months that the MVP odds have changed up top. So hey, congratulations, Joel Embiid.
Congrats,
Bryce,
Joel Embiid.
what did you think about this?
Yeah, we have Joel Embiid moving to a plus 200 favorite, LeBron plus 250. So they're still saying, who knows what the heck's going to happen.
Yeah,
Um, at this point in the season, we're only halfway over. Doesn't mean much. We've seen LeBron's team take a skid, Joel Embiid's team playing great. The reverse could easily happen at some point in the season. So,
yeah.
in my mind, yeah, it's a talking point, but does it really mean much? Probably not in the grand scheme of things. It's LeBron James. We're going to get consistency from him. Joel Embiid, he's obviously a star, but a new to the, I would say, the spotlight over the past few years. So we'll see if he can keep it up. But it doesn't really mean much to me. Obviously, I'm a LeBron fan. Would love to see him win, but also it'd be cool
Mhm.
to see a big man win. Um, but it's still, I mean, Vegas is even saying they have no idea. So I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, I would love to see someone like Joel Embiid win the MVP. Obviously, every season LeBron deserves it, even if maybe he's not the most valuable player or whatever.
Yeah, he's still the best.
Yeah, he is still the best player every single season, even if the stats fluctuate, towards someone else.
Yeah.
But I would love to see this. Joel Embiid winning the MVP would be a nice breath of fresh air from the 3-point and no defense meta, or I almost said meta, but the new narrative in the NBA, the
Mhm.
40-foot threes and swiping at the ball half the time on defense.
Yeah,
I would
and
love to see.
83s a game.
Yeah, and 145 to 143 regular season
Mhm.
games. So, uh, yeah, Joel Embiid, while he is a great shooter, he is absolutely an interior big man, and I love to watch him play, and I love
Oh,
listening
I
to him
mean,
talk. I love his accent, so
yeah.
and the fact that
I
he
mean,
eats
watching Embiid,
cheeseburgers.
cheeseburger. Joel Embiid definitely brings back some of the memories of the big men that we watched growing up. Um, it's definitely refreshing to watch him play. I mean, he's averaging 30 and 12 this season, so he's not just a scorer. He is a good shooter. He's not a great shooter, but congratulations to the Sixers. They're first in the East, and they have a pretty similar record to the Lakers. But the Lakers are third in the West, and I think that's what drove the odds to change. But congratulations to both of them. They're leading great teams, and I would just like to say, if Joel Embiid wins the award, he needs to donate it to Seth Curry, because all credit goes to Seth Curry. He was without a
Okay,
doubt the
okay,
biggest
okay,
offseason
okay,
signing,
okay.
and without that floor stretching to open up some room for Embiid, who knows? Who knows if he would be MVP?
Probably wouldn't be, right?
Hey, congratulations to Seth Curry.
I don't think either of us are going to agree with that, but we will move on.
It's okay. It's okay to not agree, but hey,
We're not going to. We're not going to.
yeah, hey, this MVP race, hey, it's gonna be close.
And yeah, like we said, not a lot going on in the NBA this week. Those are a couple highlights we wanted to touch on, but there was a huge weekend in the UFC. We had UFC 259, headlined by 3 title fights, and
Three.
3, emphasize 3, and it was the main fight of the night was Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz, but we're kind of gonna dig into those 3 fights, just kind of have some talking points about those because there was a lot of talking points in all of those fights. The first one we're gonna talk about is Israel Adesanya lost. He was 20-0 up to this point against light heavyweight champion
Mm-hmm.
Jan Blachowicz. Israel Adesanya is the current middleweight champion. He moved up to light heavyweight to try to become champ, and it didn't happen. He lost in a decision. Guys, how does this loss that Izzy took kind of impact his legacy, if at all?
Well, personally, I'm gonna say that he's still 20-0, because a loss because he got laid on. I don't think it kind of counts. I mean, obviously it does. He lost the
It
fight.
does.
He definitely bit off more that he could chew. But I don't think that anyone's going to look at it and say he lost because he was the worst fighter.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
He
I
just
mean,
went too far out of his comfort zone, and he
of,
paid for it.
of course, everyone's going to say he's not the worst fighter because Israel Adesanya might be the most technical fighter in the UFC, most
Hmm.
precise fighter in the UFC. But there's one thing that Jan Blachowicz had that Adesanya didn't, and that was probably upwards of 30 pounds on him.
Yeah.
And when someone 30 pounds more than you, it's like my dad laying on me. There's no shot I'm getting up from him.
Hmm.
Like, no matter what I do. And Adesanya tried everything in his power, but nope, he just kind of stood there. Or
Yeah. Oh, well,
rather,
that's all he could do.
laid there. I mean, what are you going to do? His fault, honestly, probably for not getting to that 205 mark, which would have probably helped him a lot. Every pound in that scenario is going to count. Israel Adesanya's takedown defense is top notch. He didn't get there. But when it's all said and done, is it going to impact his legacy? Probably not. Israel Adesanya said he dared to be great, and dared he did because he lost. But like
Hmm.
having the heart to go up 20 pounds and even try to contest for that is insane. He's still undisputed middleweight champion, never lost in that division, probably never will unless someone's creative player from UFC comes out and crane kicks him in 3 seconds.
Hmm.
But that's never going to happen in real life because it's Israel
Or in a
Adesanya.
video game.
Maybe.
Maybe it might.
Maybe.
But
might.
I will say, I still think he is a top 3 fighter all across UFC, not just pound for pound. I think men and women's, he's a top 3
Mhm.
fighter, and
Yeah.
it's gonna be hard for anybody in middleweight to beat him. And honestly, it's kind of a bad day for the middleweight division because Izzy
He's
isn't
coming
moving
back.
up. He's coming back, and he's gonna have to fight somebody.
He's
So
gonna
I would
fight.
be shaking if I'm in
Uh,
middleweight right now.
Israel Adesanya actually called out Darren Till.
Oh
Darren
well,
Till is my second favorite fighter in that division. He might even be pushing for first, so I'm kind of heartbroken with whatever happens there. But he could also easily fight the winner of Costa versus Whitaker, the 1 and 2 contenders. So we'll see what happens there. It's going to be one of
hey,
either Costa, Whitaker, or Darren Till. So
and hey,
we'll see.
T's and P's for whoever it is because they don't have a shot.
Except I might want Darren Till to win. So
But hey, speaking of not having a shot, Amanda Nunes, she went into the fight. We saw that the odds were huge, but there were people putting money on Megan Anderson. Um, she's a 6-footer from Australia, which is unreal. That she's the same weight as Amanda Nunes, but Nunes literally just dominated. And at this point, I'm asking the question, like, is it even worth fighting anymore? Because no one is anywhere close, and she has beat everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. It's worth retiring, in my
worth
opinion.
retiring?
Yeah, because all right. So think about Ronda Rousey, right?
Mm-hmm.
She was in a similar-ish situation where she was the main woman in the women's division, right? And she was dominating everyone, and it was like she couldn't be beaten, right? It was like no one knew how to wrestle against her, and then she stayed in and she stayed in and she stayed in, and props to her. She didn't, do that for any wrong reason. She was growing the sport, right? So good for her for that. And I think we're seeing the benefit of that now with Amanda Nunes. But her legacy, Ronda Rousey's, is greatly tarnished by those last couple fights, right? Where she
Yeah.
just got dominated.
Mm.
So I think that if you're Amanda Nunes, you're not afraid of anyone that's coming up next, but you should start thinking about retirement, because is it really worth the risk of injury, and things like that, and especially now that she has a family, just because you never know what's going to happen when the cage doors close, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I think back to the Jones and Chael Sonnen fight several years ago, where John Jones dominated the fight, but still
Mm-hmm.
destroyed his toe, right? And obviously he's fine now, but stuff like that, you never know if you're going to be all right. So I think without anyone really interesting or exciting to fight next, maybe you just call it here and pursue something else and go down as absolutely the GOAT.
Yeah.
So,
And it would definitely make those upper two divisions, one of which is extremely new, in the women's UFC, like, much more competitive, because right now it's her and then everybody else at 135 and 145.
Yeah, I'm actually going to say I don't think she should retire at all. She loves doing this, and I'm never going to tell someone who absolutely loves what they're doing and on top of the world to retire, because it's dumb. Um, yeah, she is getting older. Yeah, she has a family, but like at the end of the day, if this is what you love doing more than anything, continue doing it. Um, no one can come close to beating her as of now. She starts taking damage in the octagon. We might be able to talk a little bit different, but Megan Anderson, the girl who's supposed to, contend for this title, lasted every bit of a minute and a half.
Mm-hmm.
And Amanda Nunes didn't even get touched. She destroyed Megan, took Megan to the ground, armbar, call
Yeah.
it a day. And at the end of the day, if you're getting in and out like that, if you love what you're doing, if you love your training, if you love what comes with being on top of the world of the UFC, stick with it. You've won 12 fights in a row and haven't been hardly touched. I mean, this all credit to Amanda Nunes because she's untouchable. And that's like saying, oh, LeBron, go retire. You never know what's going to happen stepping onto the basketball court. You could easily go tear your ACL or rip your hip out of socket. I mean, yeah, it could happen. But LeBron's been doing this for 18 years now, and he's on top of the world, still the best. Oh, look, that kind of sounds like Amanda Nunes. No one telling LeBron to go retire. So,
Well,
um, what?
slight
What?
counterpoint. LeBron is still chasing something in a lot of people's eyes. Nunez has it secured, and you're a fool to say any different.
I know, but if you want to keep on growing your legacy, why wouldn't you just keep on fighting?
I mean, hey, I'm not going to disagree. I hope she keeps fighting. I just
Yeah.
think it's just not going to be fun anymore if she's just killing people in the first 30 seconds.
Well, and at the end of the day, she can't be on top of the world forever, and that will change. But
Yeah,
continue
and
chasing greatness when you
Yeah.
literally are greatness.
Yeah.
Continue pushing yourself and setting the bar higher and higher for women's fighting because people tune in to watch Amanda Nunes. I can't tell you another girl fighter who all eyes are going to be on her. There's not another superstar girl fighter out there. So continue while you have this platform to grow your sport, to grow women's fighting in general. Continue doing it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that's awesome for her. But congrats, Amanda Nunes, being the GOAT,
Congratulations.
the Lioness. But, guys, the
Honestly, a sweet nickname.
The biggest talking point of UFC 259. The bantamweight title was on the line. Petr Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. Guys, Yan, illegal knee in the, what was it, fifth round? Fourth round?
Fourth round.
Fourth round. Yeah.
Illegal knee, disqualified. Sterling has the belt. Talk to me about it.
Sad and disappointing are the first two words that come to mind because that fight was amazing up to that point. I think if it had not ended the way that it did, those performance and fight of the night bonuses would have absolutely went to those two guys because it was exciting and I was enjoying it. And after watching all of the undercard fights, I was really tired. So it was a nice refresher. But to see it in the way that it did is just sad and disappointing, to come back to those words. And I went to Twitter because that's what I do. And I saw people saying Oscar goes to Aljamain Sterling and stuff like that. And honestly, I thought about it, and I just wanted to say, if you tweeted that, I would like for you to go kneel in front of Petr Yan and get kneed in the head. And then we'll see what happens.
I mean, honestly.
Because you have no idea. I mean, he had a concussion. There is no way you get kneed like that in the head and don't have a concussion, right? Especially after you've been fighting for 3.5 rounds. So to say that he was just faking it, I don't buy it. I think that he absolutely had a concussion and was not all there in the moment. And yeah, I'm ready to see these two get back together. And I will absolutely watch that fight, even if it is the only title fight or only name fight on the card. So
yeah, and last week, we said, oh, something big has to happen with that fight to put the bantamweight division on the map.
Well,
hey, something huge happened.
Not really what we meant.
Not what we
Not at
meant,
all.
but something happened.
But we did speak it into
all
existence.
eyes. We do.
We did.
All eyes are going to be on that fight next time. But for anyone saying who Aljamain wasn't the victim is dumb. Yeah, he was out of it. No shot he could have continued fighting. It just sucks that a fight like that, because Peter was probably going to win that fight. Probably 9 times out of 10, if they go to that 5th round, Peter's winning the fight. Probably heck more times than that. So it just sucks that, people from his corner told him allegedly, I'm going to say that. Allegedly that to knee him, and that for some reason that was legal, which it never has been and never will be. And Peter came back and said, oh, the ref wasn't clear in our briefing about that. Okay, that's like if you're a captain on the basketball team and huddle up with the other captain and the ref, and they go over the basic rules of basketball. You don't have to be there. They just do it because it's their job to tell you. So that way, like, you know how to fight in the UFC. You know how to play basketball. You don't need the ref to come tell you exactly what to do. It's almost just kind of etiquette to do it. And so I think that's a piss poor excuse from Peter, and kind of makes me mad at him because I like him as a fighter. I still think he would have won, but that kind of made me lose respect for him. It's because, dude, you know the rules. You don't need the ref to come tell you before the fight. So there's a lot of scandal around this fight, and it sucks that it had to happen. But with Austin, my eyes are gonna be glued to that TV next time they fight.
Yeah, and it's very unfortunate, just in this whole situation. But we want to get it out there. Like everything that happened afterwards should have happened. Like the championship absolutely deserved to change hands. Like Aljamain Sterling earned the belt, and our and the former champion Peter Yan did deserve the loss and any repercussions that come from it. I don't know if there's any fines along with that. Um, I'm not exactly sure because, well, the UFC is pretty secretive about some things like that. But I mean, I'll be the first. I definitely won't be the first to say it, but I'll be the first of us to say it. Aljamain was absolutely outclassed that entire fight. Obviously, with all the drama, I'm going to be tuning in next time, but I would put a lot of money that Peter Yan wins that fight because he was dominating.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that there's any situation where if Peter doesn't knee him, where Aljamain even makes it out of the fourth round because it was already going downhill.
Yeah, I agree with that. He definitely won the fight. But one last thing I do want to I just want to state this. I don't have an opinion on it, but TJ Dillashaw came out saying that he was pissed off that Jan's going to get a title shot right after cheating like this. While he cheated, in quotes, and was suspended from the UFC for 2 years. Obviously, it was blatant cheating from Jan, blatant cheating from Dillashaw. And the fact that Dillashaw had to be suspended 2 years while Jan is getting an immediate title shot after, I could see how that would piss him off, but it is something to think about, just kind of the fairness of that. And, Dillashaw getting sidelined while he could easily have a title shot as well in that division. So
yeah, but also like there is zero doubt in my mind, and I don't think anyone watching it would think any differently. Like Peter Yan is the best bantamweight fighter in the UFC right now.
Well, maybe TJ Dillashaw.
No, I don't. Peter Yan defeated his number one contender, which was Aljamain Sterling, correct?
Yeah.
Like, and it was not close. Like
yeah,
he was dominating, and he looked like the best fighter, and he looked like a champion that was going to go out there and take control of the division and become one of those next level of stars, not just a champion, but a star in the UFC. And then, of course, the unfortunate situation where he said he made a mistake, and he did make a mistake. It was obviously not a situation anyone wanted to happen, but it is what it is, a D, and we move on.
Well, maybe what we see from this is TJ Dillashaw against Peter Yan. Loser has to sit out of the UFC for 2 years. Boom.
And I would like to point out, when Dillashaw got suspended, he was the number one contender. And his suspension was just lifted.
Let's see it. Peter Yan versus TJ Dillashaw.
That's
Except they tweet between the rounds.
That's a great segue.
Yep.
So I'm going to ask Bryce and Carson. Then one of them will ask me, what's one fight you want to see next 12 months? Bryce?
I'll start. I'll keep it brief. I want to see Khamzat Chimaev fight anybody.
Oh,
that guy!
Oh, we love him.
That guy has so much potential. I was on the hype train. He's freaking one-tapping people, y'all. Insta-kill was on every fight. Like, gosh, why did COVID? Like, it's easy to think COVID. Oh, it's the myth. It doesn't really affect you. Apparently, this guy is still spitting up blood because of COVID. He can't go train. He can't do nothing. They had to fly him over to the United States, to Las Vegas, to get the best medical care because he can't. He literally can't do anything. So it just sucks that had to happen in this super fight versus Leon Edwards. that was supposed to be this coming Saturday. Just canceled 3 times just because of that. If Khamzat would have won that, he's probably getting a title fight in the next 2 fights and against Usman, which is scary to think about. But yeah, it just sucks that happened. And like, I hope he can fight sometime in the next 12 months. They're aiming for a June return for him, and he allegedly retired, but that was kind of not true, I
Overreaction.
think. But yeah, I'd like to see him fight in the next 12 months.
Well, you got me on his hype train. I love him. And honestly, I thought you were going to go a different direction. So I wrote down 2 because I thought without a doubt that you were going to say Sugar Sean O'Malley versus anybody. But I specifically said close to our second favorite fighter in that division, Cody Garbrandt.
That would be
versus
awesome.
Sean O'Malley. It would be awesome. But that was just that was my backup plan because I actually thought that you were going to say Sean O'Malley. But one fight I would like to see, a guy who was on the card the past weekend, Islam Makhachev. We saw Khabib in his corner, and he absolutely dominated. And I want to see him fight Michael Chandler.
That would be awesome.
That would be
Because
awesome.
Michael Chandler has taken the division by storm. He's a veteran that was never in the UFC, and then he came out and made a statement. And Makhachev clearly has some of whatever Khabib has. I don't know if he's been wrestling bears or not, but I think maybe not in the next 12 months. Maybe as they both climb up the rankings. I think they're 4-11 right now. But that's a fight that I would love to see, especially considering the fact that the lightweight championship is going to be up for grabs very, very soon.
All right. I went a
Austin,
little
what
bit
about
of
you, buddy?
I went a little bit
Please
of a
tell
different
us.
direction. My fight is more of a headline fight, but we're getting kind of weird because I also wrote down 2, and one of mine included Sugar Sean O'Malley as well. So
Love him.
this is kind of weird.
Literally
but
so awesome.
the one that I wrote down as my number 1, my main one, we talked about it last night. John Jones, my absolute favorite fighter, against Ngannou
He's a beast.
in the heavyweight
Oh.
division. Because
That would shatter every pay-per-view record ever.
Honestly, yeah.
Because I think
Honestly, that was
Ngannou-
the first thing I thought of.
I think Ngannou will beat Stipe and take the title. I don't think anyone's is gonna disagree with me on that one. But John Jones and Ngannou, I mean, John Jones has nothing left to prove to anyone in the UFC, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
Not at all,
imagine
no.
him being a champ.
Gosh.
If
Daddy's
there-
coming home in the
if
words
there
of John
were-
Jones.
Daddy's coming home to heavyweight.
If there were any question about him being the GOAT, the best pound for pound fighter, they'll be completely irrelevant if he wins the heavyweight title.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
I think that he can do
definitely.
it. He can wrestle with the heavyweights, I think, and he definitely has the height and the reach on almost everyone in that division, it seems like. So, and he has an 84-inch reach. That's
7 feet.
That's really long, guys.
That's the
Fun
second.
fact, that's
the
7
second
feet.
longest wingspan from anyone over 7 feet ever.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Not true. We're unqualified. That's not a true fact.
but I love John Jones, and I like Ngannou as well, but I love John Jones. So let it be known.
Yeah, and that's a fight that I was actually going to put down, but I didn't want to put it down before the heavyweight championship fight in a couple weeks.
Yeah, 2
because
weeks, right?
well, it's kind of hard to place a championship belt without the fight actually happening yet. So yeah, in 2 weeks that'll be settled, and then John Jones will have his next we'll call him a victim.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Yep. Well, now transitioning into the segments part of the podcast. I believe
Our
Carson
favorite part.
Prim has some
Congratulations.
trivia for us.
Yeah, trivia, which is our favorite part. Not really, but it is our favorite part.
It is.
We love the trivia. And here's my question as we're getting into tournament season. You might know it. I'm not exactly sure if you all know it. I thought it was kind of right on the borderline. but who is the lowest NCAA tournament seed to ever win the NCAA title? And give me the team and the year if you know it.
I know this.
Yeah, I think I know it as
Austin?
well.
Well,
All
who
right,
you got?
we're gonna say the team name on 3, Austin.
No, don't say
Count
them at the same time.
Carson, count us down.
Don't say them at the same time.
We are
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Villanova.
Okay, yeah.
Wow.
Sweet. I don't know what seed they were, but I admittedly
I
saw
actually
this
don't know the year. I want to say 85.
recently.
They're 8 seed 85. 8 seed 87.
It was 1985.
Okay, it was 85.
And we Unqualified Sports Talk record. This is the first time I think we've ever had a correct trivia question. So that's really awesome. But yeah, the 1985 Villanova Wildcats were the 8 seed. But a little bit of perspective, their best player that year, his name's Ed Pinckney. He spent 11 years in the NBA and averaged 7 points a game.
That's not a bad career.
So that's
11
perspective.
years.
That's not a bad career
No,
for one of us. But it's definitely not what you would think from a national champion. But hey, congratulations to them. And just one last little note on Pinckney because I thought it was cool. He participated in the first tip-off in the history of the Toronto Raptors.
Oh.
Huh.
So how cool is that?
That is cool. Congrats.
He
Pinckney.
jumped the first time for any player in Raptors history, and he's a national championship winner. So congratulations to Villanova, 1985.
And they beat Patrick Ewing that year, correct?
Yeah, which hey, hook 'em Georgetown.
Did y'all see that the Big East tournament is obviously being played in Madison Square Garden, and Georgetown's in the Big East. Patrick Ewing coaches Georgetown, and people in Madison Square Garden were asking him for his pass and identification, and he got livid.
He should. I
Yeah,
don't
I
understand.
know.
Well, there's two sides to the coin. Like obviously he's Patrick Ewing, but obviously
Patrick
you follow
Ewing.
the protocols.
No, it's Madison Square. He said, "My jersey's in the rafter here.
Yeah,
Like
I mean,
I built this place. You should not
there's
have to ask me for any sort of
yeah,
identification."
there's zero reason.
That's I think the owner came out and got pissed as well. But like that's crazy.
It's wild.
But we can go on, Carson, to your Hook'em picks of the week. I know this is a fun week because we get to start championship week. And I know you got for us a little bit of a championship game.
Ooh, I do have a championship game, and this might be the first ever hook 'em pick of the week to have somebody else say a little bit because this team that I'm picking in the American East Championship, this game is number 6 UMass Lowell versus number 4 Hartford. It's Saturday at 11 a.m., March 13th, and I'm going with UMass Lowell. They're the underdogs because they have one guy, Bryce. What's his name?
Obadiah Noel. Guys,
Obadiah Noel.
I have been following him for 2 weeks now, so I'm pretty seasoned veteran Obadiah Noel. He's a stud, to say the least. He's averaging like 20 a game, 25 throughout this tournament. He's a buck and a half, but I'll give it back over to Carson.
Yeah, Obadiah Noel, he's an absolute bucket. He's averaging 21 points a game this season on 50% shooting. And in the American East tournament, he's averaged 24 a game. And you can't really overstate it. He's a stud, and the best players carry their teams through March. So I'm taking UMass Lowell. So hook 'em Obadiah.
And watch out, if they make the tournament, I'm picking UMass Lowell to win their first game no matter what seed they are.
Yeah, and hey, if they beat Hartford on Saturday at Hartford, then they'll be in the tournament. So hook 'em Obadiah.
Hook 'em Obi.
And hook 'em. That's my pick. And then we went a little different direction with the next pick. We got not an NBA game that is for the number 1 seed like we've been picking. I've got the Kings at the Hornets on Monday, March 15th. And I think that this is two teams that are fighting to be in that middle tier. I think that they both have young stars in LaMelo Ball and De'Aaron Fox. And I think that, hey, hook 'em Hornets. We love the Hornets. We didn't really have much Hornets news this week with a week off, but hook 'em LaMelo. And I'm picking the Hornets Monday night. Can I get a hook 'em?
Hook 'em Mello.
Hook 'em, baby. Hook 'em,
Absolutely.
LaMelo.
Hook 'em,
And
Scary
hopefully
Terry.
very soon, we can be saying hook 'em Melo, and you'll think of LaMelo Ball.
Mm-hmm.
True.
No input on that, please, because it's pretty controversial. And then last, I'm going a really different direction because we don't really talk about a lot of it, but we're picking some golf here, and it's also cheating because technically the event's already started. But the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass, we're one day in, but I'm going to go ahead and make my pick, and I'm considering it fair because he's not in the lead.
That's fair.
Is that fair?
Fair.
And of course, my pick was going to be Bryce's favorite, Rory McIlroy, but he's seven shots over, which is like I think it's 15 shots back right now, so he has no chance after one round. So congratulations to not Rory. That's awful. But he was going to be my pick, but I'm not going to pick him. I'm taking Bryson DeChambeau because he can drive like I think 400 yards, and it's not fair. They actually, I don't know if y'all saw the news, but one of the holes, I think it's a dog leg to the left, and he said he was just going to try to drive it straight to the pin, and then they made the area in between out of bounds, so he couldn't drive it that way, which is kind of sweet because he's an absolute power hitter, and I'm taking him to win. He's 4 shots back right now, so it's technically fair for me to take that.
It's fair.
So hook him.
Hook 'em.
And he's a freaking beast. I wish I could hit a golf ball like he can because he can actually hit it as far as Happy Gilmore.
Hook 'em power drive.
Hook him this week. Had a good week last week, 2-1. So
maybe a 3-0.
I'm looking for a 3-0 this week.
Could be.
Oh.
But we're pumped for NCAA tournament time around here. Counting down the days.
So pumped.
On Sunday, we get the whole field, and we're really excited to dissect that. But before then, let's have a little preview. And let's go for our top 3 this week. Top 3 Cinderella runs in NCAA history. The criteria isn't that they had to have won, but just made a run. So, Austin, start us off. Let's hear your top 3 Cinderella runs.
Okay. I'm going to keep it nice, short, and sweet. 2008, Davidson.
Mm-hmm.
Love me some Steph Curry. That was really his burst onto the scene as the big superstar national point guard. And you see how it's turned out for him. Obviously, they didn't win the championship, but went down as a really good season for Davidson. Obviously, they've not had anything like that since, but they haven't had anyone like Steph Curry since. And I think you're a fool if you don't pick this one. 2011, Gordon Hayward, Butler.
Mm-hmm.
I remember watching the sports science on ESPN like 4 million years ago, it seems like, whenever I was like 9 years old, where they talked about how close the shot was to going in for them to win the game. I don't remember how.
Well,
how
that was in 2010.
I was getting to that, Carson. And then they come back the next year and make another great run following the 2010 run, which I'm going to say they should have won. But I picked the 2011 run just because how often do you see teams like that make 2 runs in back-to-back years, right? Butler is not a huge market, for college basketball. It is a respectable school because it has those 2 great runs, but
hey, hook 'em dogs.
Matt Howard, I don't know what happened to him after Butler, but he put on a great show in that tournament. So, and then my last one, 2013, Florida Gulf Coast, probably one of the most exciting, not necessarily clean basketball, but one of the most exciting teams to watch as they ran
awesome.
several rounds as a 15 seed, which at the time was, I think they were the first 15 seed to reach the Sweet 16 ever, which is awesome. And I remember watching it, and I was like, Florida Gulf Coast, that sounds like a community college. Whenever I started watching the reports roll in that they had a huge upset, but yeah, that was a fun one to watch.
So mine are kind of similar to Austin's. My number 3 spot, I also have 2013 Florida Gulf Coast. University, Dunk City.
Let's go.
They had some of the most outstanding dunks I've ever seen in my life from complete white guys, which is actually also crazy. Then I have 2010 Butler. I mean, I can't disrespect Gordon Hayward like that, like you did Austin. That shot was like an inch away from immortality. You can't ever overstate it. It was awesome. And then
Still
me,
immortality.
still immortality. And me being an NC State alumni, I have to go with NC State 1983 for my number one pick.
Have to.
They had to win the ACC championship to get to the NCAA tournament, then ran the table in the NCAA tournament and beat probably one of the best college basketball teams of all time with Hakeem Olajuwon and Clyde Drexler on that team. I mean, that's two NBA Hall of Famers, and you have Sidney Lowe and Derek Whittenberg on the other side, who kind of had terrible NBA careers and even worse coaching careers. So, I mean, for NC State, they're legends, but outside of that, they kind of sucked. But yeah, I think it's definitely the best run in NCAA tournament history, and I know a lot of people probably agree with me.
Yeah, and I'm not going to directly disagree with you. I just felt like it wasn't fair for me to put it because I go to NC State. So
That's
I'm
exactly
not
why.
exact. Yeah, so we have just entirely different thought processes there. But at number 3, I'm copying Austin. I'm saying 10 seed Davidson. Steph Curry. It was him coming onto the scene, and I think that was a really big moment for these like mid-tier underdogs. But Steph carried them to the Elite 8, and they only lost by 2 points to Kansas, who ended up winning the national championship. So, while they were still, 3 games away,
They would
they
have won the
were
national.
they were actually only 2 points away. So congratulations to Davidson for being the runner-ups that year. And then at number 2, I'm cheating by putting both Butler years because I love Gordon Hayward, and that shot was awesome, even though it didn't go in. But they were a 5 seed the first year, 8 seed the next year, and it's pretty awesome that they won all the way up to the championship game both years. I'm pretty sure. Has anyone been back in back-to-back years since? I don't think so.
No one.
I don't think that's happened
No.
since.
Was
Yeah, no one
UConn
jumps
before or
out to me.
after? No,
What do you
UConn
mean?
didn't make it back to back, did they?
No, it was Florida. Florida won back-to-back in 06-07, but that was before.
Okay, yeah, then
And,
I don't think so.
quick note about those Florida teams. They actually started the same 5 both years in the national championship game, which just even more makes it to where it'll never happen again. But that leads me right into my number 1 spot that is not in any way related to Florida, so I don't know why it leads me here. But I have 2011 VCU. They were an 11 seed going into the Final Four, and honestly, I thought y'all might pick them, but I didn't think so with Florida Gulf Coast on the board because, well, they were awesome. But I had to take them because I love Shaka Smart. I love him more than anything, and he's one of my favorite coaches, and I really want to meet him. So that's out there.
And has
Shaka,
hair
if
now.
you're listening, you're number 1, and your hair is sweet. He kind of looks like Drake.
Our stats guy just got back to me, by the way, about your question, Carson.
Mm-hmm.
Stats guy has confirmed that the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill has been to back-to-back championships since.
I forgot about that.
2015 losing to Villanova, 2016 beating Gonzaga.
Yeah, but we didn't factor in if Marcus Page hadn't got hurt, so I don't think that's actually a stat.
I'll run it by.
Can we confirm that, Bryce?
I'll run it by the stat
Well,
guy.
if Kendall Marshall wouldn't have gotten hurt.
Yeah, him too.
Easily.
Well, if they hadn't had a bad game,
Then it would have been national championship.
Yeah, that would have been national championship. But BJ Anya.
Yeah, BJ Anya has the longest wingspan in human history. But guys, we're actually not a UNC podcast. We are actually anti-UNC podcast.
Very much.
Hope that we never have to touch anything that they do at the 10-foot pole.
Ever.
So I don't even know why we brought it up. But guys, that leads us into this day in sports history. Carson, this was super meaningful to you. So I'd like to hear you say it.
Well, I don't really want to say it, but this day, the day of the release of the podcast was the day that the world died, the day that sports died, the day the world stopped turning, however you want to say it, March 12th, 2020. And, we normally would go further back for this day or this week in sports history, but, we had to talk about it because this will be remembered for forever. And I know one of the big moments was they literally stopped a game at halftime and didn't play the second half of the game, which in the panic was the right decision. And I think it wasn't necessarily the wrong decision to do anything when they did to stop all the tournaments and end up canceling the NCAA tournament. But I did wish it would have happened because, I had tickets to the ACC tournament and they stopped it 2 days in. That
And
was
so
very
did Bryce.
disappointing. Yeah, and so did Bryce with me. So that was very disappointing. But it was absolutely one of the biggest like landmark moments that has happened in a very, very long time. And I'm not exactly sure if any other NCAA tournament has ever been canceled since 1948. So that's wild. And it's going to go down in history. But that was a year ago today. Marks 1 year anniversary of everything coming to a stop. And y'all can give a little input afterwards. But I just want to say, hey, it hasn't felt like a year, but we're doing it. There's an end in sight, and congratulations to everybody.
It takes all of us.
Hey, hook 'em everybody. This is
Hook
a
'em
first.
everybody.
This is Times Magazine 2007. Hook 'em everybody.
And I
Yeah, it
have
takes all of
nothing to
us.
add to that.
Neither do I. You summed it up perfectly.
Yeah, but hey, it was it's a monumental day. I don't know if y'all were watching that Creighton St. John's game. Were you watching it?
I don't think so. I was in Florida
Yeah.
at the time, and I was probably sleeping.
No, I don't.
Yeah,
think
I was
watching.
I was at home moping around because I didn't get to go watch the ACC tournament that day. But yeah, very eerie situation, and we can blame it all on Rudy Gobert.
Yep.
But yeah, that was this
100%
day in
the
sports
blame.
history. That was this day in sports history, and it really affected March Madness, but it didn't affect just March Madness. Obviously, it affected everyone. But along with March Madness, we would, at the end of this episode right now, just like to put out there that we are having a live stream special for the 2021 NCAA tournament. We are going to stream what I do believe will be like a collaborative bracket. Like we're going to go through, we're going to analyze the matchups, and we're going to eventually crown a national champion. We're going to speak it into existence and pick a perfect bracket. But that is going to be live both on YouTube and Twitch on Wednesday, March 17th. And we're doing that after the first four, or we just won't consider them because that changes the timeline so much that we wouldn't necessarily be able to do it. And those games don't really ever move the needle. But that's happening. We're excited for that. We're excited for March Madness, and we're excited for what's next in the sports world because we're having a lot of fun talking about sports. And we're looking to both relay the message or the news to you and relay our opinions, even though we are unqualified. But hey, thank you, Unqualified Sports Talkers, for listening. We're going to call you Unqualified Sports Listeners, even if you are qualified. So, hey, congratulations on being our listeners. We appreciate you. And we'll talk to you on Wednesday and next week.
Hook 'em bracket special.
Hook 'em.